My own personal experience comes from like when I talk about colorism. When I talk about, if I talk about racism, everyone is rallying behind me. You know what I'm saying? Racism, fuck racism, da-da-da, fuck anti-blackness, da-da-da, right? As soon as I switch gears and I start talking about colorism, I'm bitter, I'm angry, I'm mad by the same people who was rooting me on when I was calling out racism. And I think that I've just learned a lot that I can easily be very hated by the same people. A lot of times the people who really want to push you to the front and act as if you can be holier than thou or that you're perfect will be the same people that be watching for when you fall or be the reason that you have a downfall or the reason that you are demonized. And as dark-skinned people, I feel like there's a certain kind of relationship to knowing how fast and how easy, like we just feel very disposable. And when we're hot, we're only hot for a minute. That's why even too, when you take black celebrities, and even especially dark-skinned celebrities, but let's just take black celebrities, people who are phenotypically black, look black, okay, before you start trying to put in people who aren't in that category, people who don't benefit from light skin privilege. When you have them, I feel like the ways in which we are so quick to like tear them down when something goes wrong is like so fast. And also just people who don't fit like cis, hetero, skinny, light skin aesthetics. Like I remember how it was when Lizzo first came out, people were so down for Lizzo. And then I remember when Lizzo wore this like cute, I think she had worn some shorts and the butt was out. Suddenly everybody wants to have think pieces about what she's wearing when Rihanna or any of the other girlies was wearing the exact same thing. I feel like she's held to a hypercritical lens because she does not pass for anything but black. So when people say, oh yeah, black women are gods, it kind of lets me know that you can also think black women can be demons. Like it also lets me know like that the switch can happen at any point and like we'll never know when, you know?
Too many of us have eyes to see that colorism is a real thing. What boggles my mind about it is first that people really try to discredit you when you talk about colorism on the internet and make it seem like it's not a real thing. And I find this, speaking from my own experience, in a lot of black communities. If a dark-skinned person gets on YouTube or anywhere and just even slightly coughs colorism, people are like,
y'all are just dramatic. Like, it's not even a real thing. Like, the white man already tried to separate us. Why are you trying to separate us further? Blah, blah, blah.
If somebody is telling you about their lived experience, it would behoove you to just listen. It would just behoove you to listen and to maybe take it seriously that this person is talking from a place of experience. And I'll talk later about the fact that I feel like part of the reason that I have to do so much research and so much, show so many receipts is because it feels like if I don't do that, people will just not believe what I'm saying. Even if I speak from a place of lived experience, even if I talk at length about the amount of ridicule that I got growing up, how much I was bullied growing up simply for existing in this dark-skinned black body. People will still discredit it or ask for more proof or ask for evidence. We'll talk about the research part later. But with colorism, I just find that the minute you try to talk about it on the internet, people get up in arms, and I get it. It is hard to acknowledge that you have privilege when you're part of a marginalized group, when you're part of an ostracized group or anything like that. It is already difficult because you're like, well, I already get, for lack of a better word, I get shat on being in this body already. So what makes you think that I have extra privilege? But to an extent, we all do. So Noir did a video called The Skinny Propaganda, Thin Shaming versus Fat Phobia. And in it, they made a good distinction that I really appreciated, which is, yes, you can be shamed for being a skinny person and be made fun of and ridiculed for it, for sure. And it doesn't invalidate your experience, but fat shaming is systemic. And there's a whole different, it's just a whole different ball game. And that's what I think about with colorism a lot of times. People will make false equivalencies talking about how, oh, I'm super pale and I get made fun of for being pale, or like in black communities, I get made fun of because I'm light skinned and all of this stuff. And it's like, yes, I will not invalidate your experience or invalidate the fact that you have been hurt because of the body that you live in or made fun of. But if we look at the numbers, if we look at the research, at the studies, stats prove that if you have darker skin, systemically, you are just treated differently in society. And I don't know, I don't even know how many other ways to say it anymore because people have done the research. You know what I'm saying? So,
to be clear, colorism is not as severe as racism. I mean, they're not the same thing. But I guess you could say, principle of who is oppressed is very similar to that of racism. The same way black people can't be racist to white people, dark-skinned people can't be colorist to light-skinned people. It just doesn't work that way. Can someone be mean to you because of your light skin tone? Yes. Can someone pick on you and or cause you physical harm because of your light skin tone? Yes. And all of these experiences are valid and are not being minimized. But if you are of a lighter complexion and you feel as though you face colorism, answer these few questions for me. Have you ever had your light skin tone compared to roaches or feces? In your youth, were you ever denied gracefulness, daintiness, or your overall rightful innocence as a child because of your light skin tone? Did you ever have to go to therapy or on a personal wellness journey to unlearn all of the self-hatred that society and the media has predisposed you to because of your light skin tone? And final question, are you oppressed because of your light skin tone? No, and that's the difference.
Y'all know what I want? I want y'all to stop acting like colorism isn't real. Also, I want y'all to stop acting like it's just about representation in Hollywood in the beauty world, though that's pretty important, but it's not just about preference or attractiveness. Colorism or discrimination against darker skinned people is a cog of systematic racism that places value in light skin simply because of its relation to whiteness. Having light skin isn't a quality, it's privilege. Subscribing to colorist thought is just a sign of self-hate. The next time you fix your mouth to say something ignorant about dark skin, consider the following 7 things. Studies show that dark-skinned men and women are stereotyped to be bad or of inferior intelligence, making them more frequent targets of police harassment than their lighter peers. This also carries over to employment, as dark-skinned black people get less job callbacks and promotions in professional fields. A University of Georgia study showed that a light-skinned male could have only a bachelor's degree and typical work experience and still be preferred over a dark-skinned male with an MBA and past managerial positions. As such, dark-skinned men and women are more likely to be laborers or work in blue-collar positions that are traditionally underpaid. Studies have shown dark-skinned people get harsher prison sentences than their lighter peers for the same crimes. Lighter-skinned women are more likely to marry high-status partners than their darker peers, and dark-skinned girls who internalize colorist beliefs that value light skin as special face higher sexual risk and substance abuse behavior, in addition to feeling more compelled to skin bleach. Colorism impacts the education of black children too. Black and white teachers alike show bias towards lighter students and their parents, and darker students face higher chances of suspension. Lastly, there have been long-reaching systemic effects in our own community from past slights against dark-skinned people. For example, professional and social societies and HBCUs often denied darker people from joining or enrolling during the 19th and 20th centuries. Grasp what all of this means. Dark-skinned Americans have been and continue to be denied equal access to opportunities that would improve their quality of life and that of their children. Take colorism seriously, talk about it, stop saying it's just about preference, and shut the fuck up. And if you're light skinned, check your privilege. Acknowledge how your privilege affects darker skinned Americans and do better.
Yeah, some people just want to wear what they want to wear, and I feel like that's okay. And I can't help but feel like because she is in a particular category of music, that she's automatically going to be held in place to a specific standard. And I'm going to give you an example. 30-inch bust down, a certain body type, a certain nail shape, certain outfits, certain hair. Women who are in music can still uphold those styles, but still say, but not every day though. Like sometimes I want to switch it up. Maybe I want to do something new. Maybe I want to try something different. I don't want to look a certain way every single day. And I feel like we should be allowed the space to do it. But as soon as someone a couple shades lighter, I don't want to say it, but I also want to say it. I feel like y'all do not be on people's necks as much when they fit the standard of beauty. Like I see it time and time again. And you know what? This is another reason why the counter argument to colorism. And by the way, if you don't know what colorism is just like a social hierarchy, if you will, based on the color of your skin tone, lighter being more better and darker being worse, or at the bottom of the totem pole. Not my words, just a loosely based definition. But I definitely feel like when it comes to exploring different styles, different aesthetics, different hairstyles, I'm not even going to talk about hair in this video. That's a whole different conversation in itself. But I feel like anytime it's a darker skinned black girl, versus someone who's lighter, the criticism is absolutely not the same. I'm definitely not into the alternative space. Like, I don't wear like blue wigs anymore. Like, I'm not that cool. But I definitely know that there's like an underground community of like Black girls who like certain looks, who like certain outfits. Maybe they like anime. Maybe they like dressing emo. Maybe they like dressing alternative. Maybe they like listening to different styles of music. Why do people be having a problem with that? I don't really have an answer to this question, but most of the time, the criticism towards women, Black women, dark-skinned Black women who deviate out of the norm, most of the criticism comes from other Black people. And I'm not really sure why that is. I don't know if it's like a, you represent me, so you have to look exactly like me type of thing. I don't have the answer to that question. I really don't. But I would just definitely love to see people like let up. Like, I just really don't think it's that deep. And I think this is also a big reason why it's important that when we talk about topics like colorism and how it affects us in our day-to-day, because a lot of times the counter argument to that is they, meaning non-Black people, oh, they all see us all the same, we all get treated the same. No, the hell we don't. No, the hell we don't. We don't get treated the same. We don't get held to the same standard. We don't get judged the same. We don't get critiqued the same. Okay? We absolutely don't. And I'm not saying that people of lighter skin don't get made fun of or don't get critiqued. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. But I do think that generally when you are dark skinned and Black, especially as a woman, you do get judged harsher and you are expected to fit a certain look. And if you deviate outside of that look, trashed. You would get absolutely obliterated. I've seen it time and time again.
Skin bleaching is a huge epidemic, as well as colorism is a huge epidemic in Jamaica, unfortunately. In fact, popular dancehall artist Spice actually made a song called Black Hypocrisy, where she essentially called out the hypocrisy and the colorism that's so prevalent. Actually, I'm going to read you guys a couple lyrics from the song. I get hate from my own race. Yes, that's a fact. Cause the same Black people, them say I'm too Black. And if you bleach out your skin, them same one come a chat. And I think that those couple lines perfectly highlight the entire idea of colorism. If after hearing years upon years of, you know, people talking crap about your skin color, someone decides to go and bleach and, you know, bleach to somehow, you know, finally feel like they're beautiful or they're pretty, now you're talking crap. Oh my God, she's bleaching her skin. She doesn't love herself. How do you expect someone to love themselves when you're hating on them all the time? Like, the hypocrisy of it all. And something else that I really enjoyed, I really thought was interesting about her song, is she talked a little bit about featureism. People fetishize like having like, you know, lighter eyes, having like a super pointy thin nose. I'm guilty of it myself. I used to say all the time, like, I don't like my nose is too big, like, I feel my nose is just not suited for my face. Like, I say it all the time. In fact, I say it sometimes even now. So another line in the song that really kind of highlights the featureism, and so she says in the song, what's your perception of a pretty woman? Is it straight nose with her hair well long? Black girls lose self-confidence because they attach the word ugly to our complexion. So it kind of just highlights the featureism and the fetishization of certain features, and colorism is not just a Black issue. In fact, let me go ahead and tell you guys another story. So when I was 17, you guys, I literally remember like where I was when I heard these things. Like, I literally don't forget, like, all the colorist experiences I have in my life. I remember exactly where I was. I remember exactly how I felt. It's like, it's not something you can forget because it's just so messed up. Like, I've had more colorist experiences than I've had racist experiences. That should put it into perspective. I was 17 at the time, and so all I'm gonna say is that this person was Indian. And so, Indian that told me this. There was a popular Kenyan model who became internationally popular known because she literally took herself from like Black to white. Like, I believe her name was Vera Sidika. Like, I kind of can't forget her name. I'm pretty sure her name was Vera Sidika. You know, it was just shocking. Like, we couldn't believe someone really would go through the process. I remember it popped up into my newsfeed, and I showed it to my friend who happened to be Indian, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then she was like,
oh my God, she looks so good. She looks so much better.
and I looked at her like, I was like, okay, all right, okay, I have no comment. She was like, oh, in India, having lighter skin is like better. Like, everybody wants to have lighter skin. Like, my cousins, she's like, we don't go into the sun. Like, we go outside with a hat. We always have an umbrella. She's like, my cousins, like, they bleach. Like, they bleach, and they even bleach into their, she told me they bleach in here because in here is where, like, a pigment comes back the fastest. So they keep in here very bleached so that no one knows how deep skin tone they are. And I was like, so I asked her, I was like, have you ever used a bleach? And she was like, I want to, but I'm scared. They said it burns, but I used it on my knuckles right here and it turned it lighter. And I was like, sis, that stuff burns? I'm pretty sure if it's burning, it's probably an indication that you probably should not be using it regularly on your skin. You know, anything that's going to irritate your skin or make your skin uncomfortable is probably not something you should be using regularly. And you don't need to be a dermatologist to know that.
So growing up, I knew there were endless shades of black because my mom really made it a point to buy us picture books that emphasized that, such as The Color of Us and Shades of Black. You know, all those classic growing up black picture books. Also, my dad and my sister and my grandma and a few of my other family members have more of a peach skin tone and would probably be considered light skin. So I understood that you could be racially classified as black even if the color of your skin didn't match that description. I'd basically always use the apricot or pink crayon to draw my dad and sister because they didn't have the same brown skin as me and my other siblings and my mom. But honestly, in our household, their skin tone didn't really have any other implications beyond that. It literally was a skin-deep thing, which I feel really lucky for because experiencing colorism from your own family definitely isn't unheard of. There weren't any colorist tendencies in our household, but me and my siblings did try to trick my sister by telling her that she was adopted sometimes. I think as I got older, my self-esteem was mostly impacted by the external mythical Eurocentric beauty standard that I saw perpetuated in media and in my peers in a predominantly white school system. Even though I definitely experienced microaggressions here and there, I wouldn't say I experienced colorism simply because most of the people I was surrounded by were white, and colorism is usually more explicitly verbalized by those who are the same race as you. I think the main reason why I ever wanted lighter skin isn't necessarily because of super formative interpersonal experiences, but because of the larger looming beauty standard, which basically said the closer to white you are, the prettier and more desirable you are. So I definitely know in the dark days of my life when I use Snapchat, I choose filters that would slightly lighten my skin and make me look more like Eurocentric. And that really, just messes up what you think about yourself when you take that off. It's just like, oh, that's what I really look like, and it's a whole thing. But I also remember using editing apps like Afterlight to turn up the exposure on pictures to make my skin as light as possible without making it seem unnatural. Even though I never had anyone tell me to my face, oh, lighter skin is better, I think that the media I consumed and seeing how my white peers were treated in comparison to me sent that message in a way that was just as explicit.
I think Chloe Bailey is really easy to talk about because Chloe Bailey gets a lot of discussion. It gets a lot of visibility, and I don't think it's necessarily undeserved, right? And I think the inclination for me here to want to talk about Chloe is that it's not like this outlandish persona who deserves absolutely nothing, like a Mariah the Scientist or a Saweetie. Like, Chloe comes with a very high-level talent, but I think there is an understanding how we can see then how that high-level talent is being promoted and how different that is for dark-skinned black women. Chloe deserves, but also what's happening over here. I think there's enough room for all of these women to exist. But Chloe Bailey, who had just come out with snippets of her first single is getting primetime stage time at the VMA Awards. And, Normani's fan base definitely, they definitely pitched it on social media. People definitely had some questions about the colorism that was behind this. But she doesn't get added to the roster until maybe a week out from the VMAs because Lordy, is it Lordy or is it Lore, girl? I remember one song from when I was in college, babes. But Lordy drops off the performance list and then Normani is brought in as a fill-in. And then we again have a technical issue happen during her performance that didn't appear during the rehearsals, but suddenly, mysteriously, during her performance, these technical issues are populating. It's like, who are you taking serious? Who are you prioritizing? Who are you actually giving your attention to?
So I've seen black gay men on this platform say OG was ugly. Okay, now I do want to talk about the whole being ugly thing, right? And we all know beauty is in the eye of the beholder. We all know a lot of women in Hollywood, you know, the standards are so high and unobtainable that a lot of women in Hollywood and even everyday life, right? Instagram girls, we see it every day. Women are getting so much work done to be more attractive, right? This forever moving standard of what that is, right? Even the most beautiful person in your eyes might have a day where they feel ugly or they don't feel like they look their best, right? And so you have this natural woman, she gets on here, she's fit, the body is banging. Okay, the body banging, OG, the body banging. You got this natural woman, she gets on here, she's dark skinned, she's thick, she's curvy, she's smart. She's smart, she's confident. She's confident, right? Let's remember that word, confident. Because the problem is, y'all don't like seeing dark skinned, unambiguous women confident. How dare you be confident and not look mixed? How dare you be confident and not be ambiguous? How dare you be confident and dark skinned with African features? How dare you? You don't deserve it. It don't move. It don't move. Like, how dare you? And I literally heard one of these niggas say that. Like, oh, I don't even know why does she think highly of herself? Why does my looks and how I present myself in this world and what I can't change, this is how God made me, by the way, why does that mean that I have to think low of myself? I have to be, just slumped and, let me just hide and tuck my tail in the corner. No, OG stands. I'm not backing down and I am beautiful. Yeah, and I'm not backing down and I deserve to be here. And if anybody got a problem, come and address me because I'm not backing down, right? So I heard another influencer say, oh, a lot of Africans are arrogant. A lot of the women on the show are arrogant. A lot of women on the show are confident. A lot of women on the show are ratchet. A lot of women on the show are aggressive. It's Basketball Wives. What's her name? Evelyn. She done thrown tables. She done grabbed her crotch. She done been racist, called somebody ling. But y'all got a problem with this unambiguous, big lip, big nose, dark skin, big ass, little waist, confident black woman. Y'all got a problem with that. Y'all got a big problem with that. And the problem is within yourself. You don't love yourself because the men that are calling OG ugly, you could be her brother. She could be your cousin. She could be related to you. Y'all look alike. And not to say that she looks like a man, no. When we say, oh, you know, black man, black woman, we come from each other, right? So yes, we share similar features. White man, white women, they come from each other. They share similar features. So we're not saying OG looks like a man. No. We're saying you're black like she's black. Your lips big like her lips big. Your skin dark like her, your hair nappy like her. It's the self-hate for me.
I feel like when dark-skinned women talk about this, people don't take it seriously. But the fact of the matter is that when it comes to Black love, the representation of dark-skinned women is literally being erased. In the grand scheme of things, in reality, we see dark-skinned women and dark-skinned men actually do get together and do get married. I mean, I can relate. I'm not gonna say too much, but yeah, I can relate. Now, I feel like in the past, colorism has been quite discreet, but nowadays,
I have to go with this. Why is this even still a thing? Why is it a thing? Look at the person who posted it. Look at that. But anyway, it's not my place to tell you what you can and can't post because that's your business, honey, and it's not my page. But I just want y'all to see what dark-skinned women go through. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Look at these comments. Dark skins, no thanks. It's called preference. You should have turned off the comments. Dark skins are losing for a reason. I like mine white, but the dark skins gotta go. And majority of black men saying this about their own kind. I can't imagine what dark-skinned girls are thinking of themselves after going through those comments because genuinely I even felt hurt even though I have gained my confidence, even though I've been past that. And y'all wonder why I make videos appreciating dark-skinned women? Go fuck yourselves.
people are just flat out disrespectful with it. They're rude, calling dark-skinned girls monkeys, roaches, gorillas, all kinds of animals.
traumatizing and dehumanizing for a lot of us. And imagine these young little girls watching and seeing those things. It hurts them from within. And then you'll have them questioning if they're beautiful or not. And their mothers, who tend to be light-skinned or who tend to not understand the implications of colorism at a young age, they don't know how to explain this to their kids. They literally do not. And it's an issue.
I think like when you look at a lot of ambiguous artists, a lot of them default to their black category, and I think like it's cosplay and it is not a form of flattery. Sometimes it's very lazy and they don't even always do it justice. So I would say in terms of Saweetie, I do not consider Saweetie a black woman. Bare minimum, she is mixed race. And I feel like I want to hold her and those who get perceived as black to a standard where they are constantly setting the record straight, making sure their viewers and supporters know that they are made up of other things and that they should tap into black culture in ways that are respectful and not make it their whole bread and butter, because I think that's where it crosses into a problematic line. I have been watching Saweetie from the sidelines for years, and I've never gotten a vibe from her that I'm like, oh, she's showing me another side of her. It kind of seems like she's showing me the black side. And I would even bring in Cardi B again. I think Cardi B, she's a Caribbean mixed race woman, and I would say we see a little bit more of her different sides. We constantly see Cardi B speaking Spanish, doing things of Spanish culture and, you know, Caribbean culture. But before I end, that's what I wanted to bring up. So recently, Nicki Minaj and this new rapper Bia had a live where Nicki asked her like her nationality, and the girl said that she was basically not black. I think she said she was Puerto Rican and Italian. There are black Puerto Ricans, but I don't think she's a black Puerto Rican.
Now, what is your nationality, real quick? And where are you from and where were you born? Real quick. That was my last question. You could do yours real quick.
So I'm half Puerto Rican, half Italian, and I was born in Boston.
And Bia, I Googled, she has been in Instagram captions saying the N-word, in her song saying the N-word. So Bia is not black. She has said that publicly. I don't think she's shown pictures of her parents, but she's not black. If anything, she is mixed race or racially ambiguous. So she's saying the N-word, and that's very problematic. And I think a lot of these biracial people or mixed race people or ambiguous people, I almost feel like they come to a certain consciousness or age where they're like, I get to say the N-word, like you know? And it's like, I feel like that's a huge part of people's blackness, is their ability to say the N-word rather than them appreciating their blackness and learning about it in a way that is way more robust than the small way, than the freaknik, than saying the N-word. Like, there's other ways to express blackness than the ways that non-black people do it. And I said I was gonna end, but then that reminded me of Big Lotto now, who changed her name. That is still similar to her miscegenation name. So I would say, like, even people with her, like, there's nothing about her when in her, like, at least public aesthetic and persona that lets you know that she is mixed race other than her visually being that. Everything she does relies on the blackness, and I think in ways that is adhering to the one drop rule in our current century or our current decade or whatever. So again, I just wanted to have this conversation. I'm not trying to be like very upset, malicious, degrading, but I'm kind of just saying how I feel as a super Negro. Like, I will never walk the streets and somebody will think that I'm not black. So I feel like there is something to be said for that, and we deserve another category at this point. If that's what it's giving, give us another category, because I don't want to be in the same category as people who get to be ambiguous, because that comes with its own privileges. Yeah, that's just what I'm saying, how I'm feeling, and let me know what you think.